Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. Yes, it is RedMagic 7 time, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 time. So this is the RedMagic 7. It is essentially a RedMagic 6 with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. So I'm going to unbox it and we're going to look at some of the differences and walk you through some of the features. This is the crazy 18 gigabytes of RAM version with the transparent back and the RGB LED fan. Now, I'm not going to set up this phone. This is just an unboxing, so don't expect me to be able to show you the display and the fan running with the colors. That's not what this video is for, but stay tuned because I will show you the phone in close detail. So this is the box, funky box as always, black on top, bunch of IMEIs and stuff in the back. And yeah, let's open it up, shall we? Boom. Nothing inside. There's a divider here with RedMagic on it. Here's the phone. All right. And it's got a divider separating it. All right. And then we've got, of course, a charger and a cable. This is going to be a 65 watt charger because that's what this phone supports. So there it is. Nothing too crazy. USB Type-C. And then we've got a cable to match. C to C, right? Pretty standard fare. Okay, so nothing too crazy here. Let's have a look at these divider and what's inside of it. SIM removal tool, right? And then we've got here warranty card, I guess. No instructions on this. Now, this might be a pre-production or press device, so it might not have all the manual. We're getting a translucent case. It's kind of smoky. TPU. Right? Again, this is pretty standard fare for RedMagic. I like that they include a case because these phones are big and bulky and slippery. So let's take a look at the phone, shall we? All right, here we go. I can just slide it right out, so that makes it easy. Okay, there's an IMEI sticker in the back. Remove that and ta-da! RedMagic. So there's a whole bunch of stuff written here. 165 hertz display, 720 hertz touch refresh rate, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 64 megapixel. Interestingly, there is a fan opening here. In the past, it's always been on the side. I think that's still there as well. You can see the fan here with its RGB madness and more writing over there. Ice cooling system. And of course, there's some specs here. Pretty crazy stuff. But hey, and here's the cameras. All right, and this is what it looks like in the front. Let's fire it up and have a look at this display, okay? All right, so I'm going to walk you through this real quick. If you are familiar with the RedMagic 6 and 6 Pro specs, this is essentially the same phone, just with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. So on the 6 Pro last year, we had basically two batteries depending on which markets you purchased it. So here you go. This is what the display looks like. And there was a 50-50 milliamp hour battery with 66 watt charging for the rest of the world. And in China, they got a 4500 milliamp hour battery with something crazy like 120 watt charging or yeah. Anyway, this is a 4500 milliamp hour battery, but it only is 65 watt charging. So it's interesting, like they didn't do the super fast charging on this phone, but it's air-cooled charging. So apparently the fan helps in cooling the battery while it's charging, which is an interesting idea. So again, let's take a look at this screen here. It's a 6.8 inch AMOLED display. It's 1080p. It's got 165 hertz refresh rate, and it has, as you can see, some top and bottom bezels because there's stereo speakers. So you get a speaker at the bottom and a speaker at the top. And of course, the 8 megapixel front facing camera is the same as before. It's set up there. It's not the greatest, but you have an uninterrupted screens with kind of curved corners, pretty much standard. Really beautiful screen. Very nice viewing angles. Very punchy, very bright. Yeah, so nothing really too crazy here in terms of changes. The screen is pretty much the same as before, so is that front-facing camera and the stereo speakers. Of course, the bottom speaker is down-firing, which is unfortunate. I wish they'd put it there since they do have a chin here. But hey, whatever. All right, so then Under the hood, there's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, right? We've already gone over this. And here's where it gets a little crazy, the storage and RAM option. So 12 gigs of RAM or 16 gigs of RAM or 18 gigs of RAM. This particular model, the translucent model, has 18 gigs of RAM. Yes, you heard that right. 18 gigs of RAM. And of course, there is storage options as well. 128 gigs, 256 gigs are basically your two choices. There's no micro SD on this phone, so keep that in mind. That's something that is important because you won't be able to upgrade by adding some cards. All right, now stereo speakers, as I said, there's of course a bunch of stuff on the edges. So let's take a look real quick. So we've got these touch sensitive trigger buttons, okay? And they're 500 hertz polling, so that's cool. Then we have the fan, I think this is the exhaust, and we have a power lock key, a microphone it looks like, and then another trigger button there. These are capacitive trigger buttons, by the way. Not everybody's favorite, but hey. Then there's that speaker at the bottom, USB Type-C, primary microphone, SIM slot. Then on the left-hand side, you have, antenna bands, because this is an aluminum frame, and you've got a volume rocker, the fan intake, and this slider here puts the phone in gaming mode. Typical RedMagic, nothing new here. On top, you have a headphone jack, that's nice, and a secondary microphone. Now this, as I said, is a metal frame, so it's a glass back, metal frame, nice, well built, feels solid. And yeah, so at this time of making this video, I don't have pricing details, but I'll put them up here, the prices, once I have them. And it's really just very much a refresh and a slight update over last year's RedMagic 6 series. So nothing too crazy, really. The only big difference that I can see here is this fan inlet here, in addition to the fan inlet here, which is interesting. So in terms of cameras, there's 3 cameras in the back. It's pretty much the same setup as the RedMagic 6 series. You got a 64 megapixel f/1.8 main camera, no OIS, but phase detect, autofocus, 0.7 microns. It does pixel binning 4:1 to 16 megapixels. You got an 8 megapixel ultra wide 120 degree field of view f/2.0 with 1.12 micron pixels. And that 2 megapixel camera that I mentioned earlier is actually a macro. It does 8K video recording, not that anybody cares. And that 8 megapixel front camera, by the way, is an f/2.0 with 1.12 micron pixels. Now, I'm using the specs from the RedMagic 6 here. Some slight variations might have happened since this is a newer phone, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's all the same. Now, we're going to have some, crazy RGB lighting on this fan back here when it's on, which is cool. And, this is really fake transparent. It's not like you're actually seeing the real circuits. It just looks cool. So yeah, that's basically the layout on this phone. There's nothing really too spectacularly new here. The big difference, as I said, is the battery. The previous model either had a 50-50 milliamp hour battery with 66 watt charging, or a 4500 milliamp hour battery with 120 watt charging. Now this is a 4500 milliamp hour battery with 65 watt charging. I'm not quite sure why, we don't get the fast charging and we get a reduction in battery size. It should be better. I mean, I'm not quite sure why. But, this shouldn't really matter too much. Of course, if your game, battery is a big deal, but maybe the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is more efficient. So I'm not sure. I'll figure it out in my review, so stay tuned for that. Of course, it's got 5G and all the goodness you want. And I expect this is running Android 12. Yeah, that's it, folks. An update on the RedMagic gaming phone with the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 from Qualcomm. So that's good news. Please tell me what you think in the comments. Is this a phone you would buy? Have you been waiting for a gaming phone that's affordable with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1? Let me know. And then remember, this is a compliment to my podcast at mobiletechpodcast.com. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, everywhere good podcasts can be found. So subscribe to the podcast if you want to hear my thoughts on this phone and my review. And then remember to like this video, subscribe, click the little notification bell, tell your friends about this channel. It's important to me. And then there's a Patreon if you want to help and support. Patreon.com/Tankerl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. There's a bunch of tiers there. There's the Discord server. There's also a video version of the podcast that comes out before the audio version. So check that out, folks. I'll be back with more videos soon. Until then, cheers, everybody.